Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to round 9 of the ESR Blancpain GT Series in ACC. This is one of our final rounds, and the championship is coming to a head as we come to Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. And I might have gotten those two names backwards. It's a tough thing for me, but we do what we can. Hey, who cares anyway? We're here for the racing, right? I am your host, McCray. Justin Swan is not here with us today. There's a chance he will be joining us later, but other than that, we will just jump right into it and fly by the seat of our pants as always, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, welcome there, Justin. What a coincidence. Yes. As you can see there on screen, as I said before, we are at Barcelona. Circuit Catalunya, Barcelona, one of those two. And it's a nice warm day, 31 degrees ambient air temperature, 35 degrees on the track. But it is raining just a smidgen, am I seeing there correctly?
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, weather forecast said it was going to be dry and hot all week. Server settings said so too. But as we can see, the rain is actually ending right now. It started just for the qualifying session, and it's ending right at the finish of it.
What a coincidence. It's currently damp, but that's just sure to end as we get into the cloudy and then hopefully sunny weather. No wind conditions at all. But here we can see the results of our pre-qualifying. Albert Arjona taking the pole, followed by Javier Eugeni following up with pretty strong results at our last round 8. John Barker behind in the Aston Martin V12, followed by Sean Kenny and Max Simmons. So a very unconventional top 5, shall we say, for this round.
Max Simmons putting it down.
Exactly, that Rex is strong. I mean, that gigantic front straight, as you can see, and then the back straight right before, I believe that's turn 10, just at the beginning of sector 3. That'll probably help out. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, and it's definitely in the wet that car picks up a bit of speed because it doesn't have grip to lose.
Exactly. So true. We've seen that happen before in the past, even in this series as well. But it looks like our session is over. So let's get this going. We're not, there we go. But we're looking at the sky. Let's change that up a little bit. Guys, very pretty here, but we need to look at the cars. There we go. So we have sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we're looking at it now. The rain is gone. The sun is starting to come back out as it heads over the hills and mountains in the distance. So nice 8 p.m. sprint race going into the night here.
Yeah, it's a little on the late side. We have 17 drivers, so same as last week. And as you can see in the forecast, it's now partly cloudy, and for the next half hour or so for this qualifying race is going to be also partly cloudy. But track has already gone to fast. Temperature's going down. Sun's going down in the distance, so it's kind of normalizing. This is our qualifying race we're moving into. So for those who haven't been with us for the last few races, so we're gonna have 20 minutes qualifying race, and then or 10 minutes qualifying race. No, 20 minutes qualifying race. My bad.
Yeah, 20-minute qualifying race.
We just got done with 10 minutes of pre-qualifying, and then after that it'll be an hour-long race. So, with our unique qualifying order, this will determine whoever wins this race, and the order, the finish order, will determine the starting order for the actual race to come in about 20 minutes.
Indeed.
So
we'll have a small break period in between. We'll set the grid. Drivers can stretch their legs for a moment, and they get right back into it for a 60-minute showdown.
Yeah, Albert Arjona proving to be very valuable yet to the AXRT team that's been struggling a little bit more recently with getting a concise and cohesive victory. Javier Castaño Muñoz qualified 13th in his pre-qualifying, so that's a little bit uncharacteristic. There's a lot of weirdness going on this week. I don't know if there's something in the air, if there's a little more chemtrails going on this week. No, I'm just kidding.
Coming out of that kink, it seems the drivers are having a bit of trouble getting it started, but the good news is they'll have plenty of time to get it going onto the front stretch here.
The final chicane at Barcelona is no stranger to controversy, and not very many people like it here. So we're initializing race start right now. On board with John Marco Silvestri, and we're green flags waving. Matt Higgs and Brandon Baker getting great starts. Sean Kenny faltering a little bit. Looks like Jean Aldian got a great run out as well. And characteristic of Max Simmons, he got an all right run, but he's having to break out. Looks like the Porsche of Javier Castaño Muniz is pinballing back and forth. A little bit of contact. Matt Higgs sends Brandon Baker wide after getting shunted by Max Simmons a little bit. Looked like a racing incident. Looked like Baker is really struggling there with the lack of grip on the outside. A little bit of contact. They're 4 wide in the back. And so we got
Jean
Jean
Aldian
Aldian.
almost goes around.
Yeah, Jean Aldian having some trouble. He's off in the inside dirt, but didn't no actual big incidents. Just a little bit of argy bargy. No one spins.
Whoa,
We're
and it
pretty
looks
clean.
like Adam David Broche had a, I don't know what's going on. His car seems to be all over the place. It looks like some weird problem there. It looks like he drove through Brandon Baker, but then didn't. I think we'd have a connection issue between those drivers.
It's possible. Maybe a little. Maybe you forgot to turn off the flux capacitor.
Something crazy happening. We got
The hub.
Barker in third place, by the way, in the Aston.
Yeah, making his way up past Kenny. Bayless sneaking into 5th. Simmons dropping a position. And I forgot where Matt Higgs qualified, but I think he's made his way up a couple of spots. Ooh, a little drama. Oh no, Gianmarco Silvestri sends Max Simmons around. Just
And then
awkward.
Simmons collects
We get a brief view of
Baker.
Baker in the background just having an absolutely miserable qualifying race. You say that was involved with Simmons somehow?
I'm sorry, what was that? I'm
That's okay. We both mentioned Baker, and I think you said something about Simmons maybe coming into
Yeah,
contact with him.
Simmons when he finished his spin, he ended up clipping the rear of Baker. Neither car spun further, but there was some small damage on Baker. It pushed him out wide, so you can see some paint scraped off there.
And yeah, Max Simmons falling to 16th. Team Ferrari, aside from Mar Bessi, the number 888 car, just having a terrible race here. Silvestri, David Broche, and Bellino all falling back to 13th, 14th, 15th respectively. David Nelson also sneaking into 8th place. Him and Cliff Hemian kind of rode the coattails of that nightmarish, well not nightmarish, but kind of drama-filled first lap. And Javier Castaño Muniz in the more recent drama fell to 12th. So you can see while the track is pretty dry, it says fast in the upper right hand corner of the screen there. That is not 100% ideal, and it kind of depends on what the drivers have set up for to see where they make their pace. You would think they would bank on the rain clearing up and drying out, but that will mean consequently at the beginning they might be a little bit less ideal. Sefimian making a move on the outside of Javier Castaño Muniz, or no, that's Muniz making a move on Hemian. Okay. Hemian looks like he had an off. He was trailing right behind Nelson and now finds himself behind both Archie and Aldian. Now drama up front as Sean Kenny piles on the pressure with John Barker. The massive wing of that V12 Vantage is not very well acclimated for giving us a good view behind, but the sound is truly wonderful. I'll give you a second to hear that. Oh, just kidding. We moved cameras. So the Vantage and the Rex of Max Simmons in 16th there will be pretty well acclimated to this track with the giant straightaways and with a slightly less grippy track surface. They'll probably have a smidgen of an advantage, especially considering they have the easier passing zone. The cars are strong where passing is easiest on the straights. So we'll have to see how that works as the qualifying race matures and then we move into the actual race. Jimmy Bayless, who has moved back into silver for this race, having a very strong race up in 5th place. David Nelson making a move. Wait, who is that? Archie? So, I mean, look at maybe Archie was having a move actually. Getting by Castaño Muniz, who's now up into 11th. My brain is almost fooled into thinking that the blue Huracan of Archie and the black Huracan of Nelson are different cars. Now
No, they're
Marbesi.
not.
Yeah.
Bessie's showing a lot of fight here up against Higgs going into
Actually,
turn
looks like maybe
10.
Higgs got past Bessie. For a second, I thought that was Kenny because their cars are similar color, but I see Kenny now ahead. So Matt Higgs is putting on the pressure to Bessie.
Looks like the first lap RG Barkley's kind of calmed down a bit.
There we go. The characteristic gunshots of ACC. That made me jump.
Bang. I don't know what that's
Yikes.
from.
I don't know. It just happens sometimes. Make sure you're awake. Wake up, audience.
So yeah, looking back at the lap one contact, the only thing here that looks like it'll boil down to some type of penalty will be the contact between Silvestri and Simmons, unfortunately ending a phenomenal run by Simmons in qualifying, putting him well up the grid, higher than usual. And now with the Rex, working from behind is nigh on impossible. Really what you have to do is smash a great time in it and hold on for dear life. And here here he's playing from behind quite heavily. He's got Baker ahead of him, who's no slouch either. And
Yeah, we
so
just
we'll
saw
have to see
Baker
where he ends up.
on the main camera. We just saw Baker make a move around Simmons, so it looks like Simmons is continuing to struggle. Our track conditions have moved from fast to optimum, so it's about as good as it's gonna get currently.
Yes. Yeah, the track is sitting comfortably at a 28 degrees Celsius, match the air temperature here as the sun is behind some clouds and setting in the distance. Quite a beautiful scenery as we go into turn 10 that you can see over the mountaintops in the distance almost straight on. Quite beautiful. Archie sets up an over-under move on his own teammate here. Gets loose on the inside curbing and loses the spot to Xavier Castano. Although it looks like Castano is going to try to hold it around the outside of turn 13. A little bit of contact. Luckily, that Porsche's got big enough hips to hold it down. Cliff is showing his nose on the outside of Archie now. And Archie, coming out of the final corner, is going to get a good run in this Lamborghini. It's got a lot of legs, a lot more grunt than the Bentley does. So we'll have to see what kind of wing that Bentley's running. It's a big one, but maybe if he's running a smaller wicker, he can hold on. Definitely not gaining ground. No, definitely not. Not a track where the Bentley's going to do great as far as stretching its legs and going fast, but it can definitely get through that chicane with some gumption and put some work in, so long as the driver is able to wrangle that beast around.
Absolutely. John Barker still struggling with Sean Kenny, who's attempting to break his way into the podium. That's worth mentioning. This is still the qualifying race, so there's plenty more to go after this. It is therefore a wise choice to reserve some of your fury for the next race, although we have seen several battles forming qualifying races in the past.
Oh yeah,
Wonder what-
these drivers are fighting for a few scraps of points here as well as track position, as we saw with the recently stolen qualifying format of F1. Um, that no matter how much people think that drivers are going to hold back, well, you're a race car driver for a reason, and race car drivers race.
we got a
Takes a lot of
comment.
restraint.
We got a comment in the Twitch chat from Byron, who's joined us. He's commenting on, well, you guys signed Bessie. He's one of the superior ball kickers. I assume you're talking about Bessie Vidison of Iceland. I think he's a midfielder, if I remember correctly.
I have not a clue.
I'm not 100% sure either. I don't know sports ball.
Higgs is fighting with Aldine here, and I'm not sure if he lost the position or if he's trying to take the position back. He's bobbing and weaving into the brake zone, trying to find some space, some clean air, some downforce, so that he can get around this mammoth of a BMW.
Yeah, well, Higgs was just in front of Aldine earlier.
I'm going to
Must
assume
have had.
Aldine got the run out of the corner then.
It must have had a little bit of oops.
Yeah.
Maybe having a little look. Now looking at Jamie Bayless, who is stuck between the battle of John Barker, Sean Kenny, and the Ferrari that's tracking him down of Marbesi.
Something to note here is that ballast from week to week has been changing as far as drivers that are finishing in the top 3. Not too many drivers that have attained ballast have had such a drastic finishing difference that they've had much of it
Oh,
come off. Is everything
but
okay?
Byron clarifies is a joke. Is that not the infamous Lionel Messi, referring to Lionel Messi, the
Ah,
Argentinian footballer? Yes, very
yes,
nice.
Lionel the train set. I know
Yeah,
that guy.
exactly. There we go. Okay, okay.
And Silvestri somehow managed to get a track limits in
Oh
in 10 and a
no.
half minutes. I'm not sure
Yikes.
how he managed because he is a habitual track limit abuser.
I was gonna say Mr. Silvestri is no stranger to the track limit penalties. Nothing on his character for sure.
He just
But
races
he
as
even
hard as
in
he
the
can.
even a few seasons ago in the um, academy, he was a little bold with his track observances, shall we say?
Oh, always. Looking back a ways, see what other
Sean
battles
Kenny
are
making
going
a
on.
move, having a look on the inside of John Barker, but he backs out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I almost missed that.
It looked like he was going to go for it. He was alongside pretty heavily, but maybe he decided to just give him the spook and have him move around one of these first few corners.
I'll be shocked if he's able to, even with a draft, get alongside the Aston Martin. It comes out of a cannon.
Well, the Audi will really come to its own during these uh, mid-speed corners because the Aston Martin is just going to push in the corners. It's going to understeer pretty heavily, I think. And the Audi will have pretty much the opposite. At least in my experience, it's been pretty prone to oversteering, which, if you can control it, is a definite advantage in some of these mid-speed corners.
Yeah,
Would you agree? You had more experience with the V12 Vantage.
the V12 understeers like a pig,
Okay.
and that's basically where it starts and stops. The front end takes a long time to come around. He's going to be hurting in the hairpin turn 10. He's going to be hurting going into the chicane. He might even be hurting coming out onto the front stretch just a smidge if he doesn't have it dialed in just right.
I
Um,
believe it.
so it's not a fun car to stop, but it's a fun car to go.
So now we're caught up in the battle of this train is just getting enormous. We've got 5 or 6 cars piled up behind Barker, and that has to be immensely frustrating because Barker we can just see leaving Kenny for dead on the straight.
Absolutely, that's where that car comes alive. He's going to be doing many more miles per hour than the rest of them. Looks like Bayless has found a bit of speed once we got to race conditions. They struggled in the dry practice. They struggled in the wet qual, the damp qual. Really, it wasn't quite wet. And now it looks like they're getting it put together here for a strong run behind Kenny. Higgs struggling this week. Uncharacteristic, but it happens.
Well, not everyone's gonna have a good week, and it's totally possible that he's just kind of said, "Okay, well, I'm gonna be a little bit more, maybe just less bold, and try and you know, live life a little bit more chill. Gelling. Are you gelling? Matt Higgs is gelling. It's possible. Although there's definitely been times where he has no chill at all. So when he maybe should. So we'll have to see, I suppose. Shout out to Dr. Scholes.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a callback.
Yeah.
I'm fixated on what has turned into a battle of Archie and Castaño Muniz here for 10th place. Castaño Muniz was looking left, looking right, and trying to find some ground on Nelson. So now he's in the Lambo sandwich here. No meat, no bread, just cheese. And under the fire, we'll have to see if he ends up grilled and
I
melted.
think. Well, maybe since it's maybe since I think their meter choice is lamb, maybe it's a euro.
I do love a good gyro.
Mm.
They're really good this time of year. There's a deli by me. It's a Greek deli, and oh my goodness, they'll give you one so big it's bigger than my forearm, which
Ooh.
isn't saying much. I'm 5 foot nothing. So
Well, we'll just give you the benefit of the doubt. How's that?
again, the Aston just leaving behind the green Audi of Sean Kenny down that front stretch, going into turn 3 here. He's setting up, and he's just minding his business and finding his lines. So we'll have to see how this goes, but it looks like as it sits, Sean Kenny's never going to really get around him. Although I say that, commentators curse. blows the corner a little bit here, and now he's got the outside-inside line. So let's see how this goes.
We'll see. They're not in an ideal place to do an undercut, especially an overcut with the Audi situation, but it's not
Yeah.
impossible.
No, he gives up and backs out. He
Cliff
runs
Hemian
wide
into the
himself.
pits. Not
That's
entirely sure what
interesting.
happened there.
That's interesting.
It looks like he might have even got towed. I'm watching on my alternate screen and I couldn't remember him making a move toward the pit, but that's not, I could be wrong.
I don't know what that could be. Not sure.
We see Jamie Bayless applying uncharacteristically high amounts of coordinated pressure. Just hiding there in Kenny's blind spot a little bit, saying, "Hey, you know, maybe I'm here, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm alongside you. You never know."
Like, looking back at the replay here that I have pulled up, Cliff Hemian was dicing it up with Adam David Broche. Not sure what happened. Watching him come down the front stretch. Did he outbrake himself? Gives Adam a kiss. Gets loose going over the curves. Car's still put together. He's got some serious side damage. And he pulls off to the sand on turn 3 and sends it to the pits. I'm not sure what that's all about.
Me either. Oh, Sean Kenny getting really, really tricky. He's floating all over the place, I guess, trying to keep Barker guessing. Lights are
Yeah.
on.
And while that's going on, we've got an insane train conducted by Mr. Bessie.
Very nice.
So, yeah, it's gonna, it might be a short field, but
Oh yeah, the
tight.
proverbial sandwich of Nelson, Castano, Archie has stacked up behind the battle with Bessie and Aldian. Bessie just took Aldian on the last turn 1, which is kind of a surprising maneuver. We saw that a little bit on the stream. And looks like Aldian is continuing to struggle, which is I'm a little bit curious by. I wonder if he might be a smidge damaged from something.
Could have the tire pressures a little bit wrong because this race is later in the day, on the second race day. So this is Saturday in game. Wow, Archie almost sends Xavier to the shadow realm there, going for braking in turn 10. Give him the kiss of death, but not
He's all
quite.
Yeah, he's all over the back of that Porsche. Ooh, getting very close. Looks like Castano is struggling a little bit with his braking and turning.
Yeah, he caught a little bit of that inside curb there on that corner, and when you catch that inside curb, all of a sudden the TC freaks out. You're on 3 wheels essentially. So while it's deceiving, Barcelona has a few curbs that are extremely high, shades of the green hell in terms of how severe they can be. And he caught
Oh,
that one, so
definitely.
he should be glad he didn't lose it entirely. Never mind not losing a spot. So.
We caught a little bit of a glimpse of some action going on up front. Looks like Higgs is taking on Barker.
And Sean
They're
Kenny got by Barker as well.
Yeah, they're now side by side. I wonder if the incidents might be related. Bayless is shadowing a little bit, trying to see if maybe they can get an advantage. Oh no!
Oh,
Punt to Matt
Higgs
Higgs, a
gets
nice
kissed.
recovery slide though.
Both of them. A little bit of frustration maybe out of
And
Barker
now the
losing the
freight train's
spot.
caught up with him
Now Higgs is unlucko. He's getting
alongside
freight
Aldian.
trained here.
It's a quick
If
side note, another drive-through from Gianmarco Silvestri. Oh no, David Nelson gets shunted. I might have been moved by Castano. I'll have to have a look. Let's have a quick replay in there. Actually, no, just kidding. This is too much action. I don't want to get that in there.
well, yeah, we can catch replays after the race if you want something to do in the midterm. You can bring up the replay while they're in the garage. You have 10 minutes to mess with it.
That's a good point.
So there's some Higgs contact with Barker.
What's quick
Higgs
question? What's the button to save replay?
M, but don't do it now, or else you won't be able to have the replay. It cuts it, and you'll have to exit the entire race to go look at the replay.
Oh, okay.
You just when the race is over, click replay and watch it.
Oh, okay. I've never used that feature before. Interesting.
No, you don't have to do nothing. As long as you're in the session, you can go back.
We're all learning stuff, ladies and gents.
No need to press M. You won't be able to see it. It'll restart the replay. Or cut
Okay.
it.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yep. So
All right,
watching this now.
This is our final lap. 6 seconds left. So, current standing order. Arjona is just out of here. short of an accident, commentator's curse, him and Eugenie are going to be pretty sure first and second. It looks like Kenny is giving a little bit of the light, or Higgs is giving a little bit of light flashy to Marbessi ahead. John Barker still doing his best to hang on. Higgs getting a little bold, running almost off track, not quite, but.
And then
Whoa,
Higgs
again,
gives Bessie what
returns.
Higgs had gotten.
Yep. Well, he maybe a little bit of misguided. Looks like a little bit of misguided rage there. Gave Bessie a little bit of the punt, and now Castagno, who's moved to the 9th, might have a chance to get around Higgs. They're side by side. And now Castagno has the hole shot on the next turn, the 90-degree right-hander. Might be Repsol, I think is the name of that one. Now, Higgs needs desperately to get by Castagno before this this final sector, or else Castagno is going to pretty much have it. Try to get a cutback, but Munoz parks the car on the line and says, oh, "Sorry, bud, you have to go around the outside." And now we have Arjona crossing the finish line. Aldian still really badly wanting to look on the inside of Barker. It looks like that's going to be it for the battle with Higgs and Munoz. Barker holds off Aldian, who gives a little light flash. There might have been a little bit of shenanigans.
Yeah, there'll be a few incidences that need to be reviewed on the replay before this grid gets finally set. I'm gonna go ahead and see if there needs to be any minor grid penalties in between sessions, and I will catch you on the flip side once we begin our countdown to go green. So I'll be back in anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes as we get that set up.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so that is our qualifying race. You see the order: Arjona, Eugenie, Kenny, Bayless, Barker, Aldian, Bessie, Castagno, Munoz, Higgs, and Nelson are our top 10. As always, let's have a quick run over of the track as it stands with our current 9th place finisher or qualifier, Matt Higgs. Matt?
Alright, this is a lap of Barcelona. Coming down the front straight, should we get up to 6th gear here? Brake just before the 100-meter sign on the left-hand side, go over the curbs. Get down to 2nd gear, get on the curbs. This should be flat if you're feeling adventurous, sometimes you can't. This is the trickiest corner on the entire track. Well, not trickiest, getting up there. Alright, brake just before the bridge. Try to carry as much speed as possible through this corner. Wrap oil, corner. Alright, just brake just before the rise. This is deceptive corner because you think you can brake later, but it's downhill, so you go deep. So yeah. Oh yeah. Get on the curve on the inside. Straight line this as much as possible. Don't follow what this guy does. Ham's tricky corner. Easy to get track limits if you run out wide there. Tricky corner. They reprofiled this recently, which made it worse. No, they made the track even worse. Somehow. Bonk to Sabadell. I don't speak Spanish, so that's probably that wrong. Euro car? What? Brake there. Try not to get. Don't run out wide, they'll get track limits. And this is New Holland Straight, I'm guessing. Judging by this track map. And that's a lap of Barcelona.
Good job, Matt. Thank you very much for that. Very interesting track, very controversial. Not a lot of people like this track, at least in our field, so kind of understandable. We are currently watching a replay, as Justin Swan suggested, of the last couple of laps. during the qualifying race, excuse me. We can see that incident ahead with Matt Higgs up in front and Marbesi with Aldian kind of in tow. Looks like we're watching now. Archie got really late on the braking zone and went wide or to the inside to try to avoid hitting anyone. Ended up taking out Nelson pretty heavily. Or no, that wasn't Nelson. Let's go back a little bit. Oh yeah, he did end up taking up Nelson. Okay, this didn't affect him too much. What a shame. What a shame indeed. All right. Well, in short, that is our qualifying race. The order is up there on the screen currently. Now that we're preparing for the actual race, now is a good time to go over our standings as they stand, especially as we are coming into the last couple of races. As we mentioned before, this is race 9. Race 10 is our final race, so we have a 1-week break between now and the actual race at Suzuka, the final race of the series, another double pointer. Let's start by going over the Pro Championship as it stands. Currently, Matt Higgs sitting at the top with 444, followed by Javier Castaño Muñoz, 358. Andrew Burke in third, 318. Albert Arjona in fourth, taking a position from John Archie in fifth. Javier Eugeni sixth. Sean Kinney seventh. Dominic Turcotte eighth. Brandon Baker ninth. Max Simmons 10th. David Nelson 11th. Gianluca De Luca 12th. Jeff in 13th. Wesley Stokes 14th. Brandon Stenbook in 15th. And Rachel Guerin in 16th in our Pro Championship. Currently, Matt Higgs is our top-ranked gold driver or platinum driver, and Javier Eugenia is our top-ranked gold. We have a little bit of movement. Albert Arjona snuck a position away from John Archie, who ended up losing a couple. Javier Eugeni picked up one as well, and so did Sean Kinney. Those both taking positions from Dominic Turcotte, who fell 2 positions into 8th. Max Simmons got one from David Nelson. That's a position they've swapped a couple of times in the past few races. And they are no strangers to that circumstance, to be sure. Not much action going on as far as points closeness. We do have the pair of aforementioned Max Simmons and David Nelson separated by a single point, so there's very high odds that those could be switched. Wesley Stokes and Brandon Stenbook and Rachel Guerin are all really close to each other within 10 points. However, they haven't gotten points in the last few races, so that's a big question mark on that. For the team's championship, Team WRT Audi, Brandon Baker, Matt Higgs, Sean Kinney. We're now with 938 still in first. They increased their lead back behind to Team AXRT, Albert Arjona, Javier Castaño Muñoz, and Wesley Stokes. They increased that lead by 33 points in the last race. Meanwhile, AXRT has lost 50 points in ballast to, not ballast, in separation to Walkenhorst of Javier Eugeni, John Aldian, who are now in third. But they just had a great week last week because they got an extra 97 point delta to Barwell Motorsports behind, who's now sitting in 4th place at 450. They only got a few points though because Habato Corsa did not score points last week, and the gap in front to Barwell has increased by 18 points. In the amateur and pro-am standings, we have Jean Aldian in the silver category leading with 292, John Barker in second with 209, Carlo Durazio with 176 in third, Josh McLaughlin in fourth with 138, James Butler in fifth, Gianmarco Silvestri in sixth, Jamie Bayless, who got swapped back to silver from gold last week, is in seventh, Inu Lugoshi still unable to recover in eighth, Cliff Feeming in ninth, Larry Foster and Ayrton Tobin in a cumulative 10th. For the bronze championship, we have Chris Stevenson in first with 207, Arthur Belodi in second with 170, Dave Jones in third with 54, Tommaso Bino in fourth with 48, and Alex Shaina in fifth with 28 points. Likewise, to the people in front, Adam David Broche, Shoei Nagase, Josh Horowitz, P. Spencer, and Logan Sword all did not score points last week, so their separation is more or less the same. Not very many close not very many close points battles in bronze this week, or silver for that matter. No positions were really changed, with the exception of Gianmarco Silvestri taking a position from Inu Lugosi, and Jamie Bayliss refiltering into silver, which caused them to cause a little bit of movement around. Sadly, Inu Lugosi is not able to. Their team is not able to fix their long-standing issues with car composition, so that's just going to be the way it is. Ditto for bronze. Not a whole lot of movement. There are a bunch of close battles at the end, but again, that is mostly because they are in non-scoring positions. As for the team championship, Team Bouncing Guinean took a position from Team AF Corsa. They are now in first, but they're only separated by 3 points, so that's very likely that they could change positions. Team R Motorsports in third got 27 points in advantage on Team Straka Racing in fourth. But otherwise, there's been no movement again, because most of these teams did not score points. Their deltas did not change. As we come into the last race of this season, that's Suzuka in a couple of weeks. All eyes are on the battle between Team WRT Audi and AXRT with Porsches. The Porsche team has lost some position to Team Audi. However, it is not impossible at all, especially with a little bit of wavering we've seen, at least in this qualifying race for Team Audi, that there could be some more switch ups as the final race comes into view and the championship winds down. We're now watching Max Simmons, who is currently the only person warming up for the race. Maybe a little bit disappointed from his qualifying, trying to get some last minute practice in to maybe loosen up, but also get a little more comfortable with some of the turns that he wasn't fully acclimated to. Taking a little bit of look at the chat from the drivers in the field. Being very cordial. Matt Hayes expressing his disappointment of being taken out a couple of times, but John Barker being very apologetic about it. Looks like that incident was not caused by an errant maneuver, maybe just a little bit of net code. And that last comment, my friends were running at around 30, so that is a pressure. So generally they try to run a little bit lower than that, so that will cause the car to understeer a little more. As even John Barker in that the Aston Martin is already a very understeery front heavy car, like we Justin and I mentioned a little bit earlier. And so with high pressure front tires, they'll cause the grip to be even a little less. So it's possible that that had an impact as well. That was a good time as any to mention. We ESR is an organization of volunteers just here to have fun, to meet new people, have new experiences. And so if you found this stream or video, because it will go on YouTube later, if you found either any of this content and like what you see, visit us at esr-race.org, esr-race.org. We have a Discord, TeamSpeak, although we don't advertise that one that much, Twitch. I believe we have a Facebook group as well. So say hi. We have, if you're interested at all in racing, it doesn't have to be sim racing. We are here for you. We do series in everything from ACC, R Factor 2 to Race Room, to dirt. Well, we don't have any series in that, but we do we interact with it a lot. BeamNG Drive, Wreckfest, Forza Horizon, all that stuff. We even do a little bit of I actually already mentioned BeamNG, never mind. But basically the point is, if you if it has 4 wheels, we do gaming with it. So join us if you feel so inclined, and even if you don't want to race, we like to interact with others who are passionate about motorsports and cars in general, really. So visit us, esr-race.org. You can be as serious or unserious as holy crap. You can be as serious or unserious as you would like. All we ask is you bring a good attitude and enjoy the sport. It was like Sean Kenny noticed that John Barker was struggling with the front end grip in the Aston Martin. Makes sense. They were battling for quite some time. So the BMWs have been pretty strong here even this week, which is not something I expected. They've been pretty strong even in last week and the week before as well. So maybe they're finally coming into their own during these last few races of the season. There's a little bit of a discrepancy though. The Porsches of Arjona and Castaño Muniz. What's going on here? Not entirely sure what that's about. Oh, we're back in practice. Okay, so we're in warm up still. Brandon Baker has now decided it's his time to get out and drive. One thing that will be kind of sad, at least for me, is I love these old cars. They're, in my opinion, they're more characteristic and at the very least interesting than the newer cars, the 2018, 2019s and the like. So it'll be sad to see these old cars go. Personally, I'm a bigger fan. I like the Audi of all these cars. I mean, even all the regular, 2018, 19 cars. But this Audi is even better. It's even slighter. Um, and I mean, we already have other series that run the current cars. So apologies for a little bit of the extended delay, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we're having a little bit of issues getting the server switched over. Unfortunately, ACC is not very flexible in its configuration to allow for different series, which is, in my opinion, ironic. Ooh, Brandon Baker getting really slidey coming up to the pit entrance. But ACC is not super accommodating when it comes to configuration settings, which you think is weird, especially considering that we're attempting to emulate one of the series is that the ACC cars participate in. This is an emulation of the 2016 Blancpain GT Challenge with some bits of the International GT Challenge sprinkled in throughout the series. That's in our mini enduros at the beginning at Bathurst, in the middle at Spa, and then our finale at Suzuka next time. So as a result, we have to do a sort of two-race format, but because we're not allowed to modify the settings in the same session that takes place, we have to just shut down and restart. So just a little bit of jankiness. It ends up working out more often than not in the long run, but it does result in some of the awkward circumstances that you're seeing on screen now. So unfortunately, we can't really speculate too much on the conditions present in the weather of the coming race, but at least right now, and the server settings have been set to prioritize a more sunny, less rainy conditions. We're currently sitting at 32 degrees track temperature, or 32 degrees ambient, excuse me, 41 degrees track temperature. We expect it to be a little bit less than that because the race is to take place later in the afternoon, um, in game time, that is. But as we saw, the qualifying was very wet, so it could go either way, really. Okay, there we go. We've lost connection, which is actually a good thing for once. I know, strange. That means that a new server session has been started, so let's go get on that. Shout out to KMX19727204, a Twitch bot apparently. Either that or someone who has really sold out their soul. That's someone in the Twitch chat, by the way. Hey, in case that wasn't clear. As we wait for the rest of the drivers to arrive, that's a good time to go over our qualifying order one more time, just to make sure that everyone got in the memo. My camera controls will work, and we can do that. There we go. Arbor Hona, Javier Eugeni, Sean Kenny, Jamie Bayless, John Barker rounding out the top 5, Jean Aldian Marbesi, Javier Castagna Muniz, Matt Higgs, and David Nelson in the top 10. Adam David Broche in 11th, Brandon Baker 12th, Tommaso Billino in 13th, John Archie 14th, Max Simmons, and Jean Marcos Vestri rounding out the top 16 with Cliff Hemian followed in 17th. There we go. We're set up for the race. 1 hour for the mandatory pit stop at the 30. 10-minute window centered on the 30. So drivers will have to do one pit stop and do a full tire change. Fueling is not required, although it is basically no penalty. So pretty much why not do that?
Back, hello.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
We had a little bit of an extended thing because of all the action that happened in the last 2 laps that had to be reviewed.
I see.
So I was aiming for 10 minutes ago to kick off, be done and gridded, but had to go through. There was some, we'll say, contentious about how it all worked out, but this is where it ended up. We have, for the people at home, we have Barker getting a 3-grid penalty for rear end contact with Higgs on the last lap. Excuse me, the second to last lap. Higgs with a 3-grid penalty for the same exact contact in the same exact corner, except this time with Bessie. Bessie has a 3-grid penalty for the same contact in the same corner with Higgs. And Aldian had a 5-grid penalty for contact with Bessie in turn 10 on the second to last lap. So we had a lot of contact in the last bit, and that was a lot of math to assign all those grid penalties because they all finished on top of each other.
Absolutely. So the qualifying order we just had flash up on screen is not 100% correct. Pre-penalty it was, but we have a little bit of moving around. Fortunately, it's very difficult to edit that, so I'll just
that was
I have it up on my screen here, the revised one, so I will call that out whenever we go over the qualifying in the race.
Excellent. I was going to say, if not, I've got it here.
And they're moving. Oh, my secondary viewing screen has copped out. That is unfortunate. Oh well, don't need it.
I can call it for you if you need to. I've got it up.
That's okay. It was just alternative viewing.
All right, and the grid is coming around the final corner here. Everybody's pulling up and getting themselves lined up as we start our final 60-minute race of the season. The finale will be a 90-minute race.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and take us away.
Wow, you put it that way, and I'm almost a little teary-eyed. And we're green flags going for this final 60-minute race. Pour one out for the this format. You got John Aldian alongside.
Aldian's getting walked into the inside.
Ooh.
He's forcing himself to be there on the inside of Adam David Broche. He dives up the inside turn 1. Doesn't collect anybody. It was very dicey.
Look like it. really aggressive from Sean Kinney up in first or in second. Well, I guess he's in third technically. Meanwhile, Javier Castaño Muñoz piling on the pressure, trying to sneak into the top ranks at the last second. Gotta say, between qualifying and this start of this race,
Excuse
Castaño
me, I have to
Muñoz.
cut you
Oh
off.
wow, look at
It
that!
looks like Arjona ends up off in turn 4 to the outside. He's getting freight trained now, back in what seems to be almost 10th position.
And
Now he's on
as
the
I was,
inside of turn 5.
commentator's curse strikes again, I suppose. XRT on the little bit of a comeback on the little bit of the back foot, I should say.
And the BMW of Jean
Jean
Aldian
Aldian. Ooh, does he
sideways.
collect someone? Looked like that might
He
have been a
does. Picks up
Lamborghini.
Adam David Broche.
Oh no, it's a Ferrari. Oof.
Coming off the back of 2 wins to immediately have his race in tatters is not a good feeling. The highs are high, the lows are lows. Looks like he doesn't have
Oh
any
no, we
steering
got
damage.
Sean Kinney. No, it's Matt Higgs spinning David Nelson. I
And
couldn't
then
get a.
just comes up and collects Marbesi, it looks like.
Oh my gosh, it's a
We have a
bloodbath.
parking lot on lap 1.
Bessie and Silvestri looks like maybe it's Bino. Are no, I'm not entirely sure. It's two
No,
Ferraris.
that's Bessie that got turned, Bino's teammate, by Mr. Higgs. I'm not sure what happened with Higgs there. He's
Well,
very frustrated with his grid penalty.
fourth,
And
and now he's
so,
down to 14th after being in 6th just the last sector.
yeah, he gained three spots and then immediately puts it in the pipes, so to speak. I think he's very upset with losing the positions, and well, he puts his head down and he was going to race super hard here. We'll see how it ends up. Right now, not super well.
One might even argue that he's raced a little too hard.
I would say, I mean, him and Higgs, Higgs and Bessie had some serious rubbing going on the last few laps of the race, and Bessie got bounced around quite a bit. It's unfortunate that sometimes one particular driver seems to almost be getting picked on. But
Yeah,
after the incredible first lap shuffle, we're Kenny first, Eugeni second, Castagno third, and Bayless fourth. So it's not out of the question that the BMW team could still 1-2 the podium here, as while not Jean Aldian leading from the front, they still do have 2 magnificent drivers holding out in the top 5. Barker shuffled his way in the 5th after having his grid penalty. Arjona in 6th, Nelson in 7th, Archie in 8th, Himian in 9th. He's on a hard charge from last place. That man made up almost 10 grid positions in 1 lap between bobbing and weaving through the carnage and making his way through tactfully like a knife. Simmons 10th, Baker 11th, Higgs 12th now. He's gained 2 more positions. Biglino, David Brosh, Aldian rounding out our top 15. Bessie, who had trouble getting the car fired after the contact with Higgs, or should I say Higgs' contact with him.
yeah.
And now Silvestri bringing up the caboose. So it's early in the race. There's plenty of time to make this up, but I'm sure Bessie's not happy about that contact.
Unfortunately, the bad times continue to roll for Team Ferrari. They're not, most of them technically aren't on a team, but, or one of them technically isn't on a team, but the Ferraris are all filed toward the back, along with Jean Aldian, who's currently splits them.
You know, maybe it's the commentator's curse in a way we haven't seen yet. Never mind. I don't want to accidentally
I was gonna
drop
say
the name
maybe
of the. Yeah, never mind.
maybe we don't want to invoke that.
Yeah.
Although the unspoken victor of this is maybe Cliff Henian, who's found his way up to 9th place after qualifying 16th. The drama may as well have worked out for him just a little bit here.
Yeah, and it looks like Nelson gives way to Archie. Now that they're a 2-car team, it looks like they've resided to having 1 blue and 1 black to break up the confusion a bit. As for when they're
I
a
see.
larger team, they're all running the same black Barwell livery.
Good choice.
Yeah, and now let's see Arjona after his first lap excursion. We'll say he's back up to 6th place. He's hot on the heels of Barker, but this is going to be a tough one. These next 2 cars, going to be really tough. Even if he has the raw pace, both of these cars are speed demons, and they're going to pull him quite heavily down that front stretch, especially because this Porsche here, probably best chance to pass is going to be probably turn 3 to 6. And that's where the biggest gap is going into that. So it's going to be difficult. Might have to be pit strategy here.
Well, AXRT is no stranger to pit strategy maneuvers, shall we say?
Absolutely, probably the most delicately tactful team on the track. Was that enough teas?
Maybe. I think we maybe need to throw a couple more in there just for good measure.
They're
Totally.
tantalizingly tactful.
Exactly. Um, although from that early incident with Arjona at the beginning, he's made his way back up relatively well, up to 6th place. That's not exactly where they'd like to be, considering Arjona is at the very top. But I think out of all the possible ways this could have gone, they're not looking too bad right now,
No, it could have shaked out a lot worse.
and it frequently has.
Obviously, with Castano in 3rd, Arjona would like to be in 1st, and they would basically, their only hope for the championship is to finish 1-2 for the next 2 races and hope that the Audis equally have a bad race. Right now, 2 out of the 3 Audis are having subpar races. Ironically, though, Sean Kenny coming in on his strongest performance of the entire season. The first time I believe he's led a lap that wasn't through pit cycles.
Yeah.
So this is his first raw pace led lap of the season. So.
Well, traditionally, Matt Higgs is a little bit underperforming, and we actually just saw him lose another position to Aldian, so he's really struggling. Um, he had just fallen a couple positions from, I believe, 12th down to 14th, so not what he wants to do. And I imagine that we're going to see some flames erupt from his microphone, as he's not a big fan of Catalunya at all, and a lot of people aren't in this community, but he particularly is outspoken to not like this track very much.
Oh, is he now?
Yes. Um, but with Kenny holding off 1st place, there might be some chance at redemption for the WRT team. Brandon Baker in 10th, also not performing extremely well. Not the worst position ever, but generally we've seen Audi be 1st, 4th, and 7th
Speaking of
before.
Aldian, he makes a tight move on the inside of turn 1 and makes it work going into turn 3. Now Higgs behind Biglino, I believe. Is that Higgs?
I
Yeah, that's
think
Higgs
that's
taking
Yabino.
Biglino on. Bigino. I'm curious. I saw Higgs end up back in 14th, and then did he end up there again? Did he have a second spin that I missed?
I don't think it was a spin, but he did, I believe, have a maybe a bobble or just an off-track incident that might have slowed him to lose a couple positions, because he was in 12th for a minute.
Yeah, I thought he was up ahead higher, and then all of a sudden, I know he was back down quite a ways, but I thought he was ahead of Aldian. Well, now Aldian's hard charging on the inside of Max, and Higgs is thinking, do I split the two, or do I just freight train Max? He backs off of both.
We'll have to see.
Max
It's
is
like
holding
David
strong to the
Broche.
inside.
Oh,
Too
well,
wide going into the final sector here. Higgs has the
ma-
inside.
making Higgs work for it.
Absolutely. He's doing what he can on that Rex.
Yeah, we saw him turning some laps before the race started, just in the little warm-up practice mode we had going on. Yeah, didn't have the best qualifying race. I think maybe he had a couple of shortcomings, especially in this chicane, which everyone hates. But specifically, he struggled with it last race, so maybe trying to work a little bit of those issues out.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
he's in an underdog car here.
As
He had a
everywhere.
phenomenal qualifying in the rain. You can really see the drivers, take the car by the horns and just find the pace out of it somehow. See what kind of recovery Higgs has here, as will probably he'll be the car to watch for this race. See what kind of positions he can gain back. He does have Aldian in front of him, and while not being a direct championship competitor because of Aldian's we'll say false start to the season where he had some bad races and some bad finishes here and there. I don't think on raw pace Higgs is going to be able to really do too much to Aldian. Aldian's got a better car in the straight line here, and he was showing us in practice, in the main practice before qualifying, that he can whip it around here pretty good.
Yeah, well, the BMWs in the last few tracks have been uncharacteristically strong. I espoused a little bit that Catalunya is good for that kind of activity, just because of the immense front straight and that little back straight that Aldine is on right now. Um, but even with that, it would seem like the mid-speed corners would be a problem, and they just haven't. We also saw that at Silverstone or Donington, excuse me, that they were pretty strong. So maybe they've just gotten their second win, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. Um, the BMW drivers finally coming alive. Took them a little bit of the season to find it, but between Eugenie and Bayless and um, John Aldian, they've been having some great results. Chris Stevenson not here today. He has some personal things he had to take care of, so he's unable to make the grid. But he's been a staple in the BMW as well, driving the Butsinguinian art car from Spa 2020. A very nice looking car out on the grid, sorely missed here today. Um, Thinking of some other storylines for this BMW, Eugenie right now is in second place. He's had two back-to-back second place finishes here at ESR, both of them being his best finishes and his only second place finishes on ACC with ESR in the history of the Sunday and Wednesday series. So, it looks like the two cars are side by side ahead. Aldian side by side, just barging his way through Baker. I don't think Baker's going to appreciate that.
No, I don't think so. We didn't get a look at that until you mentioned it. We were watching the battle with Arjona and Baker ahead,
Oh,
but
that's fine. I was just skimming through the
no.
field and I noticed.
Yeah, no, it's totally acceptable. I was just commenting we hadn't noticed it. So
That's a way
did it
more
look
important
egregious, or
battle.
was it kind of just whatever?
Elbows were quite out, some touring car moves. Sure, he's not making any friends out there, but I hadn't even noticed this battle with Arjona and, well, really, it's four cars here. We've got Bayless leading the charge, followed by Barker. I don't know how he's managing to do what he's doing in that car this season. He's really battling on above his weight class in that thing. It's sorely, sorely aerodynamically inefficient compared to the rest of these cars. And
Well,
there's quite the train behind him.
well, he was explaining a little bit in the chat during the interim that the car was really struggling. He had high tire pressures on the fronts, perhaps a little bit overheating as well, and so he was really struggling to find that front end grip. And we might see that come into to play again as the track. We're at 4 p.m., so it's peak temperature, maybe just under peak, and there's a possibility that car will start to struggle as the time wears on and the tires get nice and warm. We got John Archie
John
making a
Archie
move
throwing it up the
on
inside.
Albert Arjona. Really interesting that Arjona kind of let him have it a little bit. Maybe he just wasn't expecting it. Arjona was alongside Barker a couple laps ago or a lap and a half ago with Barker, but he gave him was maybe a little overcautious and didn't apply too much pressure. Maybe hoping that Barker would get a little understeery as he had in the qualifying race, but he's gonna have to start making some moves if he wants to claw his way up to Castagno ahead.
Where is Jamie Bayless? Jamie Bayless was at the front of this.
Bayless
This
isn't in this. Bayless isn't in the race anymore.
What happened? Yeah, we did. We lost
I
Bayless. Bayless was running fifth place, and
Yeah,
they're
we're down to
gone.
16 cars.
I
Huh?
looked away for a split second, and just like that, I'm not sure what happened.
Me either. Maybe we'll get some commentary and comments, I should say, on that in the Twitch chat. Jamie, if you're out here, I'm not seeing anything in the race chat, so who knows?
Oh, looks like a DC.
Bummer. That's the worst.
I'm looking in the replay. The car just DCs. Very unfortunate. They're having a great race, and that unfortunately kills any hopes for the BMW team to 1-2 this race again. It's still possible to see two in the top five, especially with what Eugenie's doing. But it's doubtful that at this point Aldine finds much more than they already have. Making a move on Cliff here. So looking outside, looking inside. Ooh, gives Cliff a big
Ooh,
punterino.
wow. And Cliff gives it right
And
back.
Cliff gives it right back. Unfortunately, it's one of those deals. It sent it in kind of late, made some contact, got loose off of it. Now
So we
Big
just popped in
Nino and
perfectly to.
Bessie coming through.
We perfectly popped in to see that action happen, and now we're back up with Barker and Archie. Archie's not unexpectedly got some good pace, but he's struggling to really get around Barker. Definitely, partly as a result of the straight line favorability of that Vantage and just its ability to go ludicrous speed on the straight and put him in the rearview mirror.
Absolutely. If he's got that thing dialed in, it'll be pointing and squirting, as they say.
Yikes!
And no, I mean that's old NASCAR term.
No,
You
I
shoot,
know.
you point and squirt, point and shoot, same difference. It's all about that gas. Now you can see the power of that Lamborghini in the draft. He's able to hold with him and keep the same kind of pace. But as he
Having a look,
steps
having
out
a
of the
look.
ooh, he's making the braking.
Ooh,
Wow,
very
gets it
nice.
to
That was
stick.
clean. I thought there was going to be a little bit of sideswipe there.
I thought so as well. You can see Barker here try to come out and swing it back in, but the nose just says no.
Too much pointing, too much squirting.
Not enough pointing. Not enough pointing there.
I guess there's a hidden third step. You gotta point,
Then
turn,
squirt.
and squirt. Yeah,
Yeah.
struggling with that second part.
And it looks like Aldian is giving Bessie a couple Punterinos and boots. I'm not sure if Aldian's having a really frustrating race, and that's why he's suddenly been a little bit more bumpy, but it's uncharacteristic of Aldian. And unfortunately, another one of those times where Bessie ends up kind of being the ping pong man, and that's not fun for anybody. Still, the four Ferraris bring up the rear of the field. Tommaso Biglino letting through Bessie. Rinaldi team orders there. Beautiful cars, though both of them are quite scraped.
Yeah, they've seen some battle damage.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Bessie was having a good run and got the old smack. Very unfortunate. I think we're seeing some frustrated drivers out here.
Looks
And
like Arjona
unfortunately,
might
it's
have
not
had
great.
some troubles. Maybe might have gone off or something. He was only at less than 2/10 away from Barker ahead. Now he's way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it looks like he lost a position as well. Yeah, he did. He lost a position.
That's unfortunate. He's not really in any danger of of coming to blows with Hemian behind, who we're now on board with, but is definitely not what they wanted.
I think Higgs is going to try a move on Hemian going into this corner.
I would not be
Thinks better
surprised
of
at
it.
all.
Thinks better of it. Backs out.
Well, the Bentley is definitely not one of the better cars for this track, being very,
Not in a
very
straight line.
handling oriented. Now it could do well in the last sector, but it's clearly not enough to make up for it. Although he's doing all right, 8th place.
Yeah, he's doing well to hold off Higgs here. He might have actually, in between races, gone back to the drawing board. Maybe he trimmed off a bit of wing. A lot of things he could have done to try and get the car just a little bit more trim so that he's able to compete in the straightaways here.
Yes, well, the Catalunya is very interestingly laid out. You can kind of see it as Sector 1 is just some very long corners. Sector 2 is the more mid-speed kind of corners, and Sector 3 is the more tighter ones. And with that variety, it's hard to tune a car to really take advantage of it, especially one as specialized as the Bentley. Because really, his only strength is in, at least at stock, his only strength is in Sector 3 for the most part. Although you could kind of argue that Sector 2 there's some advantage there, although it mostly evaporates by the midfield or the mid track straight, the mini straight. I forget what it's called.
I have no idea. Um, I do
Something
know.
something Espanol.
I have no idea. I don't have a clue. I memorized the famous ones. The rest of them, not famous enough, I guess. So as we get to just about the pit window here, a couple more laps, pit window will be opening for the center of the race here. Our leader still remains Kenny, and he's still holding on to a strong 2-second lead. It's been right around that for the entire duration of this race. So he's not losing Eugenie, but Eugenie's not really gaining either. Daniel's 3 seconds back off Eugenie. So we've got about a 5 gap between him and Kenny. Yeah, and then we have about 5 seconds between him and Archie. So I'm curious to see how Archie closes that gap now. And looking through the middle of the field here, Nelson is putting some moves on Barker, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Nelson gain some time and some positions once he gets around Barker here. Looks
So
like it might be happening here.
John Aldine around the outside of Brandon Baker as they go through turn 7. That was a very nice maneuver. They've been fighting a while, and Aldine finally just had enough and just went ham on the inside and kind of forced him to accommodate him. Worked out well. I'm sure Barker is not happy with that. There's been a couple of weird moves thrown in this battle, but I mean, there's no arguing that it's acceptable. Gotta make him, and gotta put your opponent in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, now he's through. We'll see if he can start getting some ground on Higgs, who is still stuck behind Hemian, by the way. Very good drive from Hemian to keep Higgs behind him, especially as we know that Higgs is typically at the front. So now that he's not, leading the
Oh,
field,
as we say that, Hemian goes wide on the last turn and
commentator's
dips
curse.
a couple of tires into the gravel, and that slows him down more than enough for Higgs to gobble up that position. Higgs in 8th place.
And just like that, Higgs is an 8th. Ah, well.
So he's still got a little bit of drive ahead of him. His next target is Arjona, but Arjona's got 5+ seconds ahead, or Higgs has 5+ seconds ahead to Arjona, I should say. So that'll be interesting. We'll have to see if how that kind of that splits out. Although Arjona has been gaining on Nelson ahead, who's been battling with Barker. So there's a
Yes.
possibility that battle could reopen. That wound could come open again.
Meanwhile, looks like Bessie's having quite the race with his teammate, Begino. Usually Bessie's got a bit more speed. I'm wondering if maybe Bessie has a bit of damage from the early contact that he suffered. It's very unfortunate what happened. It certainly could be an issue of speed. Silvestri uncharacteristically bringing up the rear here, the caboose. Though I think that might just be he's taking it easy as he found out the hard way that track limits are enforced.
Yeah. Well, Silvestri is what's the best way I could put this? He knows he's very good friends with Mr. Murphy. Not super. He's pretty well acquainted with Murphy's Law, right? This time is more of his own doing with the track limits, but he's just not had a lucky season. Lots of snake eyes being thrown around the Silvestri household.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is a driver that races with his heart. You know what I mean? He puts it all out there, and he races as hard as he possibly can all the time, and that's great. But unfortunately, sometimes when you're going at 110% all the time, it works against you. You start pedaling backwards. You spin your wheels a bit. And in his
Absolutely.
case, he ends up getting more drive-through track limit penalties than any other driver in the series. He's had some unfortunate moments as far as contacts go, from making mistakes, breaking points, things like that. He's on the cusp of greatness. He really is. He just has to figure out how to start putting it together, rein it in. He's definitely one for the future if he can get it under him. And if he doesn't get it underneath him, then he's going to be one of those guys that spikes a race here or there, and is always one of those wild cards.
Hmm.
So I would rather see him turn into a really consistent and strong driver. But as of right now, he's a wild card. He could come out and set, pole randomly. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, Jeff is one of those people that's been kind of there. He's been a little more consistent, but he's had moments. Season 3 is comes to mind. Jeff was all over the place. He had a second place and maybe a first. I'm not. I mean, I might be mincing my words, but I know he had some really great results. And then somewhere he has that literally the back of the field. It does. It's the consistency, and not to say that you necessarily need to calm down to have a fun race or a good race, but if you're fighting for those points, it's going to be more valuable to be slow and steady, right? I mean, just look at Nelson
Absolutely. It's a
ahead. We're
tortoise and a hare
watching
thing.
Exactly. We're watching a battle with Barker, who had gotten overtaken by Nelson a lap ago. We saw that. Um, but Nelson was in the academy when that series came back to ACC. Um, we saw some very clear tortoise in the hair things with Rachel Guerin versus David Nelson, and Nelson was very much the tortoise scenario. He was, did he win the first resurrection? He was close, or he was the other one. He was really
Excuse
close.
me. Yes, he was pretty close. I know that Josh McLaughlin was up there in that conversation. Silvestri was up there in that conversation. A lot of the drivers in this series are graduates of the academy. Cliff was up there in that conversation. Aldean
Hmm.
had a stint. John Archie had a stint as he was transitioning to ACC from other platforms. Um, yeah, I mean, right now looking at it, our top 10 has had 4 drivers in our academy, so it is what it is. You know, you go out there, you get those seat time, get that laps in.
Absolutely, and I really see a lot of growth from those drivers even after they've been in the academy. I mean, Nelson in fourth right now, partly due to the immense pit lane here, but also he's just proven very worthwhile. Their team is doing very well, at least in this
Speaking
race.
of teams, we've got some pit lane action happening right now. Castano and Arjona are the first to complete their pit stops.
Yeah,
So
I was
they're
thinking
going
about
for the
that.
severe undercut.
I was thinking of that, and I was a little bit surprised. Normally, they kind of just both went in at more or less the same time, one after another. That's not normally their thing, but I guess it's they decided it'd be worthwhile to get those new fresh tires on sooner rather than later. Both
It
Bessie
looks,
and David Broche further getting hit with penalties, or
yes,
well,
for it popped up, it said it was for speeding in pit lane.
yeah.
And the
Uh,
plus 30 means it was severe speeding.
oh wow.
Yeah, jumping 10 or 15 Ks will usually just get you a drive through. I've seen a regular stop and go as well, but a stop and go plus 30 means they missed it pretty bad. The next
Yikes.
step after that is it actually just black flags you entirely.
Well, it's interesting because New Holland, the last corner, is pretty forgiving. I mean, as far as the pit entry goes, um, see, it occurs to me to be pretty difficult to get too much speeding done there, but um, it's certainly possible.
Can be tricky if you're not paying attention to where the pit in marker is compared to the 50 meter or the 50 kilometer board, excuse me.
All the above.
So now looking at who's on track, Kenny still leads the way. Eugeni's cut that gap down to a second. He can smell him. He can sniff
Hmm.
him.
Yep,
And
he's right there.
curious to see how this undercut works for the likes of Castano and Arjona. Silvestri's coming out of the pits or coming into the pits. So, yes, Silvestri's coming out.
Archie now in the pits as well.
I must say, some of the gaps we're seeing as these drivers fall out of the pits just goes to show us how tight the track, how tight the competition really is. Because Arjona was quite a ways back, and he had to fight his way back up through the field, and here he is, coming out of the pits, and he can see his teammate who was in third ahead of him, like right there. So I think there's about a 10 or 12-second gap between himself and Castano. 12 as he crosses the line, 11.2, so 11 and a quarter here between him and his teammate. Hoping to close that up.
Hmm.
Can't get 2 top 5s today for the AXRT team. Aldean comes out only 2 seconds behind Arjona, so again, another driver charging through the field. These are some very interesting, deltas we're seeing as these drivers come out of the
And Archie
pits.
comes out of pits in front of both Castano and Arjona. Is that is that true?
Yes. Somehow
So
Archie
Arjona must have
jumps.
had a pretty poor. Yeah, Arjona must have, or Castano must have had a pretty poor pit cycle.
Well, I was gonna say both of them because Castano was third. Now Archie came out ahead of him. So where does this cycle? Does this mean Archie is now in third, second? This is interesting. I'm curious as to Archie's pit stop and how that worked out.
Because Archie had a blazing pit stop. There might have been
I mean,
some stuff
yeah,
going on with the XRT pit crew, but
could have missed the stall. Could have had some other issue that we missed. That's
it's not
not
difficult
good.
at all to lose 5 seconds in the pit. So if you get misaligned, or even if you get misaligned such that you can still get picked up by the stands, but you got to get repositioned a little bit, get the car in some dollies, that can take 5 seconds easy. So
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they both lost that kind of time to come out on top of each other. Maybe the gap between the two of them wasn't as small as I thought. Maybe Xavier just had an exceptionally poor pit stop. I'm curious to see now where Eugenie is going to cycle out. Eugenie looks like he's going to stay one more lap. He does. So it's probable, but not impossible, depending on how Kenny crossed the line here, that Eugenie may lead a lap. He may not.
and Kenny getting a stop and go 30-second penalty, so that is going to be devastating for
Yeah,
for
there basically goes his lead. That is wild. That is wild. There must be some major pit stop violation here. See if I can't
I
find
do
something
wonder.
on
I
the
wonder if
replay.
maybe there's like maybe it's something related to the game, because that's unprecedented. We normally get a couple, but they're normally very minor. This we've had 3 so far, and they've all been
There's the pit stop
stop and go
board.
30 seconds. That's like you said, that's severe. That doesn't just happen without some precedent.
Yeah, I'm watching him. Unless he jumped the start, it looks like he had a clean pit entry. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
So there's a feature for the drivers to have automatic pit limiter applied and disabled and stuff. I imagine most of the drivers have that. I don't generally like that just for immersion purposes, but I wonder maybe there's a problem with that.
The only other thing I can think of is if in one of the more recent updates, ACC has added pit entry violations because he crossed over the red hash marks as he cut across to get into the pit lane.
Did you happen to catch to see if Kenny's pop out said speeding or just conduct?
Well, that's just it. For Kenny's and Bessie's, it didn't say for speeding in pit lane, but for Broche, it did.
Yeah. Huh.
Time to investigate Bessie's pit entry and to see if
I've no
the
doubt. I've no doubt Mike Magus is gonna have a field day, because he's every time there's a pit violation and people complain, he points to the video that he's made about pitting in ACC. So we'll have to see how that works out.
I'm watching him enter.
Now Castagna Muniz is back
I
up into
have to
4th.
imagine that they both cooked it on entry. That's the only thing I can see here.
Oh no, and Bellino gets served a stop and go 30-second penalty.
Bizarre scenes.
Definitely not preferable. I think mainly it was just Archie that had a fantastic pit stop because Arjona's back on Nelson's tail. He was 4 or 5 seconds out, I think, at least by the by the look of it before they pitted.
I think drivers are missing the first. There's multiple lines, and I think what happened is these drivers that are getting the stop and goes are not braking for the right line. That's the only thing I can see in common here as I'm trying to review what
Really?
has gone haywire.
So we got Simmons and Baker being the last two to enter the pit road. They entered before the window closed, so that's good. think Simmons would look like he was trying really hard to cut. Okay, so Daft the Great, who I'm not familiar with that Twitch tag, but I think it's one of our racers, said my pit limiter was on, it was being lit, like, so the light was on, and it wasn't. It's Adam Broche. Okay.
That's interesting. I saw Brochus pop up saying speeding in pit lane. I was more
And he's gone.
confused about the other two.
So he's retired,
Seems he's retired.
which makes sense given that he's Twitch chatting.
Yeah, wouldn't want to Twitch chat and drive. So it looks like after pit cycles, Arjona ends up just behind Dave Nelson. Castaño's back up in second. Archie's in first.
So with Kenny being dethroned and Baker still struggling ninth, Higgs is making his way up to sixth. So that's going to be a little bit annoying for the AXRT lads. But with Castaño in second, or Munoz in second, I should say, and Arjona in fifth, potentially in fourth, this could end up being very strong for the twin Porsches. Although it's even more strong for the Lamborghinis of Nelson and Archie.
And as you know, I've got my ear to the grindstone here. There was some
That
chatter between the radio frequencies of the drivers here, questioning amongst each other the stop and goes. And it seems that the consensus between the drivers that had to serve it was that they believe that they had been braking for the wrong pit entry committal line, and that the 50 kilometer per hour board was missing. Seems there's some controversy there, as that throws Kenny back behind Bigino. Bigino was the first driver to raise the question over the radio, in which case Kenny and Bessie had spoke up about it. So Kenny's not happy. I'm sure he's fuming, actually.
Absolutely. I'd be surprised he wasn't.
He was on pace for his first win here with us, and now it looks like we've got Archie in second, or excuse me, first, or Castaño in second, Eugeni in third. Again, Eugeni, the shining beacon of BMW here, showing us how it's done. He's gone from, you know, a very, very strong top 10 competitor to suddenly a top 5 podium machine. And so it's definitely one of the feel-good stories on a frustrating weekend for some of these drivers here.
Well, I can't say I'm really surprised at all. Eugeni has been the poster child for BMW racing team in ESR, and like whatever they're paying him, it's not enough. I'll put it that way. He's been
dedication.
He's been very, very strong, or not very strong, but he's been strong in other series. I mean, even in the GT Challenge. You know, going back to season 3, season 2, he was in the BMW, and he was never fighting really for the lead, but he was always in the top 15, top 16, and a couple of times he was in the top 10 in the BMW when everyone was driving 2019, 2020 cars. And so I think it's almost just justice, the universe, the stars aligning, or not the stars aligning, but the universe in balance again. Eugeni's doing very well in this series, where the BMW is, you know, it's where it's meant to be honest.
Yeah, and you know, I think a big turning point for him was at Kyalami with us. I'm looking right now as he's tracking down Castaño. He's getting very large in Castaño's mirror here going into turn 4. BMW, if it could believe it, it's getting larger. But that was a big turning point for him when he was fighting Higgs and holding Higgs off in the top 3 or top 4 at Kyalami. And I think sometimes it just takes a driver breaking that glass ceiling, and then after that, all bets are off. And you know, after that, all bets are off, and they're ready to you know, get up and go and do what they have to do to get those you know, stronger finishes. Looks like Castaño's having some understeer problems. Maybe his tires aren't up to pressure, or maybe he grained them up coming out of the pits a little bit too strong and pushing them before they're ready, because Eugeni has just crushed him this last lap.
Yeah, well, he is down back to almost a second, but that's not nearly as much as Munoz would like, I'm sure. We
Yeah, the
just came
middle
off a
sector is
battle.
not the BMWs. It's the first and last sector.
We've
Getting out of this
came.
hairpin onto the straight, and then down the straight as well. It's just chef's kiss perfect for this BMW.
So we just got off a battle with Baker and Silvestri. Silvestri is putting up quite a juicy fight, or was. We're not watching it anymore. But Silvestri was right up alongside Baker and giving him a run for his money as he kind of bounces off Simmons ahead, who has found his way back up to ninth place. That might be a battle to kind of keep an idle eye on as we kind of the race moves into its final third.
Yep, we've got one qualifying sprint race worth of racing to go here. And the field is, after pits, starting to settle down and tighten up again. Seeing Eugeni fight with Castano. We're seeing Arjona still trailing Nelson. Higgs quite a ways off Arjona, surprisingly. Baker, Silvestri on top of each other as well. Cliff seeing their glint in the distance. Fortunate for him that he was top 10 and he started to fall back. Great for Simmons to see him back in the top 10. He's racing hard. He's doing everything he can in this piece of junk. His last lap was a 147.1, which for him is a pretty strong lap in this car on race fuel. Considering qualifying times were 45s, it's not too bad considering he's in the tracks.
So one thing I'm kind of surprised about is that Higgs hasn't moved up any higher.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic of him. He's kind of found himself about 5 seconds behind Arjona, and that's where he's basically been.
Yeah. I mean, he's been characteristic at the front of the pack, and it's been an off week for him. I mean, he's beyond the poor qualifying performance and the falling back at the beginning due to drama. I would expect him to have clawed his way up higher, maybe to fifth. But I mean, he is coming up on Arjona, who is another very strong competitor, especially at this track, apparently at least.
Yeah, it is Arjona and Xavier's home track, as well as Eugeni's. We have a lot of Spaniards in the field, and right now all 3 of our Spaniards are in the top 5. So far,
Actually,
so good
I
for
actually would
them.
like to hear from them, their comments on this track. I mean, and with maybe a potentially little sprinkling of hometown bias kind of thing. Just to hear, because I don't mind the track. I think it's a solid 6.5, 7. It's not my favorite track ever, but it's got some good dynamics. There are quite a few people, at least that I hear from, that don't like this track at all. And I personally, I don't understand that, but I don't need to. It's your personal opinion.
I think it comes from an F1 perspective. F1 cars can't really race here. GT
Yeah,
cars are fine. F1 cars really struggle here. As I'm watching Baker get onto the outside of the Rex, throws it up the
yeah, finally
inside now into
happened.
the next corner. Yeah. And
So that's
Silvestri trying to make it a duet, a menage
yeah,
a trois.
that's not what Silvestri wanted to see. He was battling with Baker and applying generous amounts of pressure. Looks like Simmons is struggling to maintain control through that back and forth section they're going through there, beginning of sector 2, or mid sector 2, I should say. Oh, Baker going real wide, giving one of those cones a little punterino.
And he shows us, oh, and Baker with the cutback on Simmons. I was gonna say
Yeah, that was
Simmons showing
tasty.
us the braking prowess, but he needed another 5 or 10 feet to get that done and hold the position. I think he's dialing the brake bias back as he gets back on that back straight there, and he's thinking to himself, "Well, I got to throw it up the inside. I guess there's not much else I can do." Trying his best. That Rex. What's crazy about that Rex is it's a Gallardo chassis, and I want to say they started making Gallardos in what, 08, 07?
I think it was, yeah, I think it was a little bit before 08, 07.
I mean, we're looking this chassis is getting ready to start drinking and voting. Real
And
classic.
we're gonna come into a little of my personal opinion. I think the Gallardo is one of the wait, what? I just looked it up Wikipedia. 2003?
He's driving
right.
a body
This
from
car.
2003.
I was thinking of it because in that early 2000s, mid 2000s thing, a time frame is like it's punctuated by the Porsche Carrera GT and the Ford GT. So the Carrera was an '04 car, and the Ford is
Yeah.
'05, '06,
It would have raced
'07.
in no, because they used a Diablo in the GT2 back in the day.
Yeah. Well, they did have a Gallardo GT2 for a moment. Um,
So we're this thing is old. This thing is old. It is old enough. It's
I
old enough
didn't.
to vote.
That's right. I
It
forgot
had
this
to
car.
join the draft. Get
Does
his
that mean
draft card in the mail.
this car was like hot off the heels of the Murcielago?
Yes,
Wow,
that's the what I was thinking of.
those are some words I haven't heard in a while.
It's insane to think that it's still out here, and while it's not competitive in the truest sense of the form, it is when you've got someone. You know, I think this car is actually older than its driver.
It's possible.
Now that I think about it, I think the car is older than Max.
I think Max was born after 2003. I think he's a little older than that.
What is he, 22, 21?
Oh, I don't think he's 21 yet.
I mean, 2003 is 2021. That means the car is 18. Let's go back
Well,
to our Hona
maybe.
real quick as she's
Yeah.
working on the rear of Nelson here. I noticed the split between the two of them dropped to less than a quarter of a second. For the battle, that mid-pack battle is going to be interesting as I watch them bob and weave down the front straight to try and break the arrow. But
So we got three battles kind of forming, or they have formed. Baker versus Simmons versus Silvestri, Arjona versus Nelson, and Eugeni versus Castagna. So AXRT right at the core of the foundation of this race right now. They also have the highest stakes, so they lost a little bit of ground on WRT last week. We had a little bit of look at that during the race. We might as well pop that back open. Just gonna have a look-see. Oh, what the heck? Nope.
you broke
Okay.
it.
We are having OBS, man. After this series is over, I might have a little look see at switching softwares because OBS and me we don't get along very well. Let's try this
There's not
again. There
much
we
else
go.
on the market.
I mean, maybe even Streamlabs or something. I don't know.
Streamlabs is the Streamlabs OBS. It's
Well, yeah. Well,
OBS with less features.
maybe that might be a better thing because I'll stop talking about it. But
I
in
was
any
gonna
case,
say.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, they lost 33 points to out WRT ahead.
Yeah,
So
I think that mostly mathematically seals it. We'd have to be talking about the WRT cars not finishing the race, and I don't think they'd let that happen.
yeah, I mean
For
even
next
with
week.
Wesley Stokes coming in for the final mini enduro at Suzuka.
I don't think that'd be enough. I don't think. I mean, even if they finish 1, 2, 3, if they let's say they pull out 225 points, like they totally max out, right? Or actually, the most you could
Is there
they could
what?
technically could do 275, 270, because it'd be 114, 86, and then third place would be, I don't know, third place would be what, 72, 74? Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
74. So yeah, I don't think that'd be 274. I mean, let's start playing like crazy math here. Each of them could lead a lap, so that's an extra 2 points for the second and third place guy, assuming the first gets the max 114. You're still looking at less than 280, right? So I mean, each of them could get a fast sector. You're looking at 280 max, like perfect, absolute stars align. They knock it out of the park. Each of them gets a fast sector. Each of them gets a lap lead. They finish 1, 2, 3. Pole position. One of them gets hard charger. Like we're still looking at like 284, 282, 285 max, which is just not enough. I should say it's not enough, but it's not enough if the WRT cars complete the race. Assuming they complete the race,
Yes.
even if they all finish last on our field, 19th through 25th or whatever, they're still walking away with some odd points here. It would take a holy calamity for something like that to work out. So it seems like it's mathematically locked after last week's race. We'll have to see what the point gap is. I'm gonna assume the point gap
Well,
is close to 200 points.
you're pretty on the money. I just did a little bit of mental math. It's 191 is the current gap.
Yeah.
Last week with AXRT struggling so immensely, that really hurt them. They really needed a great result, and then the penalty that happened, and then the drama with a little bit of collisions. It was that was pretty deadly. So it's not impossible, and I think with and they kind of it was gonna be hard from the start with Wesley Stokes being a
Part timer.
yeah, exactly, a part timer. That's it. It was gonna be tough. It's looking more and more likely, and it's not impossible. Again, we could have a pretty substantial commentators cursing coming. It might be the commentators apocalypse
Well, as
if it
we've been
happens. But
commentating, we've missed the fact that Arjona did make the move on Nelson, and is now in 4th place.
oh, you're right.
So
Yeah.
we
So
jabberjawed and played mental math here, and we totally overlooked that. Eugeni is still hard charging after Castano. He's trying to keep his podium streak alive, extended to at least 3 races here. Although this week he'd be down a step if it ended right now. We've got about 8.5 minutes left to go, so the racing here is gonna very quickly break down into I don't know, maybe desperate maneuvers soon. Looking through the
all
rest
right.
of the field, Higgs has made his way up to 6, which is not good for AXRT. They would have loved to see Jamie Bayless somewhere around the 4th or 5th place mark to push Higgs back another spot.
Mhm.
And I'm sure don't get me wrong, they lucked out with Sean Kenny. If not for that, then their season would definitely be mathematically over. As of the end of this race, they will probably look to gain, because of the qualifying race that they did well in, at least Arjona did. We're looking at a situation perhaps where they close this gap to 150, maybe 120. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah,
It's
we're
it'll be
probably looking at
rough.
a they basically undid the damage from last week.
Mhm. Which is really not what they needed.
They
they're
needed
really
this week, last week, and this week.
exactly, and then they really. I mean, they had to bank on the mini, the finale being their kind of saving grace, their trump card, which is it's not impossible again, but they really needed to have some momentum coming into this race, and I think they didn't get that. Well, I mean, I don't think that that's clearly obvious. They didn't get that, but oh no, is that Bessie? I believe that just got punted
That is
off.
Marbesi. Who did he get boobopped by?
It looked like just kind of some back and forth between Simmons and Silvestri.
He is not having a good race, and I feel for him.
No, oh, what a shame. But yeah, so the pro-ams could kind of go anywhere. Currently, Bouts and Guinion and AF Course are 3 points apart. So looks like Bouts and Guinion is gonna get a pretty good run, at least on this right now. But we might see. Actually, that's just kidding. There's no Is John Barker in the R Motorsports team?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Barker. It was Lugosi. Lugosi had catastrophic graphics card failure, so he's missed out. And with the current
Mhm.
GPU market, that's a negative.
Yeah.
He's lucky to have something that allows his computer to function.
Well, it's looking up. It's
It is
getting it's
looking up
getting it's getting bright. The future's bright, but
brighter.
for this series, it's pretty much done there.
I'd love to see him back though, because he was one of those guys that he showed up and he did the unthinkable, along with Barker in the Astons at Barcelona. Speaking of,
Mhm.
we're commentating cursing him as Aldean is all over him right now.
Yeah, we were just watching that. Although ahead, David Nelson has gone by Matt Higgs.
No, Higgs was behind Nelson to begin with.
Well,
Pretty
Higgs
sure.
was just ahead of Nelson because
Oh,
so
maybe
maybe
they're
he
playing
made him.
trading spaces.
He made their trading spaces. It looks like so. Nelson is not. Unfortunately, we didn't get a look at that. I caught a glimpse of the cards going back and forth, but looks like Nelson isn't so keen to just let Higgs walk all over him.
Yeah, and as we were saying that, I flicked back to Aldi, and things are heating up in these last 5 minutes. He went for an insane outside maneuver under braking all over the green AstroTurf and going into turn 1 to try and break it, hold the outside around the Aston Martin of Barker, and then make it stick all the way around the outside. And it didn't not stick, but he didn't have the pace he needed. Looks like he's trying to go outside again
Some
through turn,
hyper
I think,
aggressive
7.
maneuvers.
Yeah, I think he really wants to get these spots back. I think he knows he's a bit faster in a raw hot lap pace here. And getting stuck behind the Aston or the Rex or anything like that is not fun. You kind of got to deal with it, though. There's not too many openings you can force your way into without utterly dive bombing. Looks like he's got a good run and the draft here. Let's see.
The Aston Martin is no slouch, but the BMW is probably the king of the straights. Would you analyze my statement for validity there?
The BMW has trouble getting out of the slow speed corners. So the BMW, the Aston, and the Rex, they all excel in different places.
Okay.
The Aston has the top end and the acceleration, but it has the worst mid corner speed of any of the cars. The Rex has the best acceleration, and in the tight twisty bits, it's able to stop really well, and that makes up for it. And then the BMW is one of those cars that has the good mid corner speed for the sweepers. And it's also got very good top end, but it really does struggle in a lot of places. Wow, braking maneuver on the outside, side by side into turn 1. Barker's not backing down. He's still holding him to the outside, uses all of the green stuff to hold it to the inside now as they
Wow.
go into the next corner, still side by side. Unbelievable. Looks like Barker's actually going to hold this move off as now he's
That was
cleared him by about a
incredible.
bumper. Absolutely incredible. Now Aldian goes to the outside again,
Oh,
overbreaks himself,
into
puts
the
it into the
gravel.
kitty litter.
We
Incredible. And there
Aldian
was
turned
no
it up to
contact.
yeah. Aldian turned it up to 11 this entire last lap, and I mean, to be honest, there's very few times where I've seen them do it, and Aldian's again on the outside of the next turn. So maybe Aldian needs to cool down a little bit. He's like, okay, all right, this is over. We need to just
Woo.
focus and gather it back before we end up getting visited by Baker.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible and cool as a cucumber too. The car language, the body language from the car of Barker, he never looked disheveled. It was
Yeah.
very, very smooth, very controlled, very calculated. Maybe going into from turn 2 into turn 3 as the car clung for dear life onto that AstroTurf, but all clean, all legal, all very, very tight. Quite a maneuver by Aldian, but an impressive hold by
I'm so
Baker.
glad. I'm so glad I turned to that camera right as David Nelson in the pits. What happened there?
Must be a fuel problem.
Must be
Oh,
he
he's
rolled in. He
crawling.
didn't get towed. He rolled
Yeah,
in.
he's
So
rolling though. Oh no. No, he's doing 50. He's crawling. It's got to be a fuel issue. I'll
what a
keep an eye
shame.
on that. Simmons just a quarter of a second behind Baker.
Simmons dealing it back to Baker. I'm hearing. Oh yeah, look at that. So Silvestri again. This group is the Three Stooges for this entire race. They've been, or at
Yeah, it's a
least the last
splash and go
half.
from Nelson.
What a shame.
Yeah, it looks like he had enough of a buffer though. Where's he coming out? Oh,
Brian
barely,
Silvestri.
barely missed that next train. Had he come out ahead of them, it would have been a little bit more fortuitous.
Definitely.
Big shame because Nelson was on for a top 5. And just
Yeah.
like that, Arjona is less than a second behind Eugeni. Eugeni's a half second behind Castano, and Archie is running away 4 seconds ahead of our leaders. So white flag next time by.
So we're currently on board with Castano Muniz, who is battling with Eugeni, but Eugeni's got cut up by Arjona, kind of as I maybe predicted, foreshadowed. in the distance earlier. So this might be, and Gianmarco Silvestri with another drive-through. That's unfortunate. Track
Did he
limits
finish the
abuse.
race? Oh, the race
What?
is finished. We didn't even get a white
That's
flag.
it. Wow. Okay, that's it. I thought we were gonna have a battle at the end. All right. So who are we looking at? Silvestri, perhaps.
I think.
That was weird.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
guess the
that was
timing just
very
worked out.
weird. And Archie is still going. I think Archie is saying no chances here. I'm sending it.
Yeah. What
Because
a
he
fantastic
crossed the
result.
line. He crossed the line the moment it flicked over. So, despite my in-car saying that the checkered is out for Archie, there's a chance that there's a weird system issue here, and he says, you know, I'm just gonna go one more
Well,
lap to be
it's
safe.
not a bad idea. I mean, why not, right? It's an extra what, 2 minutes, minute and a half.
Yeah,
So
I've been there.
you know, it's showing checkered flags for all top 7, and that's going to be it. No dice for Simmons. He's not able to get by Baker. Ditto for Silvestri, but Silvestri's going to get penalized anyway for not doing a drive-through, or rather for getting a drive-through on the last lap. And so that'll be it. Wow, that was kind of anticlimactic, if I'm honest. Yeah,
So
what
we
the
have
heck
a week
happened there?
off, and then we're heading to Suzuka for our grand finale. It'll be the 90-minute race format, just qualifying 90 minutes. Thank goodness.
Yeah,
And we'll see you there. I unfortunately have to run, so
yeah.
I'm the 3 Catlins in the top 4. He's absolutely right. Xavier Castano pointing out that the top 4 today, if not for John Archie playing spoiler, we would have seen all 3 Catlin racers here finishing in the top 3.
Yeah, that
So with that,
what a
I have
showing.
to bid
Okay,
everybody adieu with that.
absolutely. Great to hear from you, Justin. Always good to be in these racing series with you. Have a great day.
Have a great one. I'll let you sign us off.
Absolutely. Well, that has been it for this 9th round of the ESR GT Challenge 2016. Glad to have you here. What a freaking race. What a result. Unfortunately, we have other events we got stacked up right behind this one, so I ditto have to get going. But thank you very much for joining us. Like you said, our final mini enduro will be the finale at Suzuka. Join us as everything comes to a head August 8th. We'll see you guys there. Have a good one.